Hello there, my fellow travelers. How are you all doing? Welcome back to yet another episode here on Strictly Flying. I hope you're all doing fantastic and welcome to Pinto Martins International Airport here in Fortaleza in the northeast of Brazil. On this episode, we are going to be flying with the Portuguese carrier TAP Portugal Airlines. And for those of you who are following me on my channel, you probably know that a couple of episodes ago, I made the flight with TAP Portugal down from Oslo to the city of Fortaleza. And of course, today I am making the return flight back to Oslo. And I gotta admit, I'm quite anxious before making this flight, and the reason for that is because the outbound flight from Oslo to Fortaleza was a complete disaster. The flights were delayed, and I obviously missed my connecting flight in Lisbon to Fortaleza, and they put me on a different flight down to Sao Paulo with a massive detour, etc, etc. The whole flight was just a complete nightmare, and if you want to watch that episode, I'm gonna leave a card, should appear right up here, and also I'll leave a link to that video in the description below so you can check that out. But regardless, I'm not very happy with flying with TAP Portugal today. I'm hoping I will have a better experience today on my return flight back to Oslo, but only time will tell. Anyways, we are heading through security here. We are all checked in, so let's head through security and find our gate. So we are through security. All we need to do is find our gate. Now, the airport here in Fortaleza is quite small, and the international terminal only consists of 2 or 3 gates. So it's quite a brisk walk straight over to the gate, and our flight is already boarding. So let's just head over to our gate. Now, in this episode, I'm not gonna be going into too much detail about the different fares and class and etc that you have on TAP Portugal. I covered this extensively on my previous episode, and as I previously mentioned, you should go ahead and check out that video, that trip report. The link is in the description below. I cover everything that you need to know about the airline TAP Portugal extensively on that episode. But in the meanwhile, I will tell you a little bit about the aircraft that we are going to be flying on today. TAP Portugal, they recently upgraded their entire long-haul fleet and now consists solely of Airbus A330-9 NEOs. And the aircraft that we are going to be flying on today has a registration Charlie Sierra Tango Uniform Kilo and is 3 years old. And this aircraft is painted in the Star Alliance livery.
Thank you for waiting. Return to the following zone, ready for now. Esta é a última chamada para o voo T336 para Lisboa. Por favor, seja chamado ao vapor número 3. Ladies and gentlemen, call to flight business installation, please. Continue to miss 3. chamamos a vossa atenção para as demonstrações de segurança. Muito obrigado. Ladies and gentlemen, all electronic devices must be set in airplane mode whenever the electronic device sign is switched off.
So here we are, guys. Welcome on board the Airbus A330 NEO. As you can see, there is plenty of leg space, and of course I am seated in the front of the aircraft in the economy extra section. Now I'm not going to be talking a lot about the different classes on TAP Portugal. However, as I previously mentioned, you can check out my previous upload on the outbound flight to Fortaleza, where I cover everything in a lot more detail. Also, since this is a red-eye flight, meaning the majority of the flight takes place during the night, then there's not really much to show you, as the cabin will be mostly dark during the entire length of the journey. The flight from Fortaleza to Lisbon usually leaves at 11 o'clock at night and arrives in Lisbon just around 10 o'clock the following day. So the flying time is just under 7 hours. Shortly after takeoff, we were served a meal. Now, I didn't have anything to eat on this flight just because the food was just so bad on the outbound flight that I instead had a huge pizza in the departures hall before getting on this flight. Instead, I had a glass of red wine, and I gotta say that on TAP Portugal is the only flight where I've been served red wine in a paper cup. After takeoff, we made a left-hand turn up northeast, straight over the Atlantic Ocean with a straight course for Lisbon, taking us over the country of Cape Verde and the Spanish Canary Islands before starting our descent into Lisbon.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Commander again for some more information about our flight. We are descending towards Lisbon, flying with our crew to show Lisbon in about 15 minutes at 9:55 a.m. local time. Weather in Lisbon is fairly good. Light wind from east, sky with some clouds but without rain. Actual temperature 20 degrees Celsius. I hope you have enjoyed your flight, and once again, thank you very much for flying TAP Portugal.
So here we are, guys. Welcome to Lisbon here in Portugal. Now I've got about 3 hours before my connecting flight to Oslo departs. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to show you a little bit around the airport here in Lisbon. But first we need to get to our gate.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just landed at Humberto Delgado Airport in Lisbon. It is now 9 hours 55 minutes. 4 hours ahead, Fortaleza, and the ground temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. We ask you to remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the fasten seatbelt sign is turned off and the crew indicates that you can disembark. From this moment on, you can use all your electronic devices. To prevent objects from falling, we ask you to open luggage compartments carefully. Please confirm that you have all your personal belongings. We would like to thank you for choosing TAP Portugal as Star Alliance member for your flight today, and we look forward to seeing you again aboard in our planes. Thank you and have a nice day.
So here we are, welcome to Humberto Delgado Airport here in Lisbon. We have just disembarked our flight from Fortaleza in Brazil and have already passed through security, so we are currently in the Schengen area of the airport. The airport is located roughly 7 kilometers northeast from the city center of Lisbon, and the airport is the main international gateway to Portugal. The airport is Europe's 16th largest airport in terms of passenger volume, and in 2019 the airport saw roughly 31,173,000 passengers passing through Lisbon International Airport. Now, personally, I don't like this airport at all, and according to Wikipedia, the airport ranked last place in 132 airports around the world as of 2022. It is one of the most congested airports of Europe, and that makes total sense according to my own experience, because every time I've been to this airport it is absolutely congested and packed full of passengers. It is almost impossible to find a place to sit. The airport is also extremely hot, especially during the summer. At this very exact time, it is just extremely hot. It is loud, it is noisy, it is cramped, and it is just a really unpleasant experience. And something that I mentioned in my previous trip report flying with TAP Portugal from Norway to Brazil is that I used to fly with TAP Portugal quite regularly for over 10 years. And this also meant that I had gold status with the frequent flyer program Star Alliance. which gave me access to the VIP lounges here at Lisbon Airport. However, as I am no longer a status holder with Star Alliance, I don't have access to these lounges anymore. However, I've been reading online from other passengers several reviews about the lounge, and the reviews are not really great. They constantly report of congested lounges, and also the food and beverage selection is really bad, and also the fact that it is extremely hot and uncomfortable. We are currently right by the escalator that leads up to the VIP lounge here at Lisbon International Airport, but unfortunately this is as far as I'm gonna get today. So instead I'm just gonna find the gate to my flight to Oslo and sit down until my flight is ready to board. So, after enduring several hours in a very hot and crowded airport, it was finally time to get crammed into an even hotter shuttle bus that was finally gonna take us to our aircraft that is gonna fly us up to Oslo, Norway. And our aircraft for today is a Airbus A321 NEO and has a registration Charlie Sierra Tango Juliet Mike, and this aircraft is 4 years old. On this flight up to Norway, I am not flying in the economy extra section. However, I am flying further in the back of the aircraft with the normal seats, and as you can see, the leg space is absolutely ridiculous. I can barely squeeze 2 fingers between my knee and the seat in front. This is almost 3.5 hour flight, and this is gonna be excruciating.
Após o transporte na duração aproximada de 3 horas e 40 minutos. Pedimos que apertem o cinto de segurança, endireitem as costas da cadeira, recolham a mesa e abram a cortina da janela. A TAP Portugal, enquanto share com os seus parceiros Star Alliance, deseja-lhes uma excelente viagem. Obrigada. Once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. TAP Portugal, Star Alliance member Captain João Assunção and the entire crew would like to welcome you on board. Our flight to Oslo will take about 3 hours and 40 minutes. Please ensure that your seatbelt is securely fastened and your seatbelt is in your correct position. For your table and open window blinds.
Now guys, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. At this time I had already fallen asleep. I didn't get much sleep on the flight from Brazil, and at this time I was absolutely knackered, and I just left the camera rolling and eventually it ran out of batteries, and since I was deep asleep in my seat I didn't manage to change it out until we actually started our descent into Oslo. So there's not much more documentation about this flight. However, as I mentioned previously, I covered all of this in great detail about the service and the food on board on my outbound flight from Oslo to Brazil. So guys, if you want to check out more detail about the service on board TAP Portugal, remember to check out that link in the description below. Now, on this return flight from Brazil to Norway, I gotta say the flight went a lot smoother than my outbound flight from Norway to Brazil. There was no delays. The flight, they left more or less on time. I really don't have a lot to say. Now, in the end, I do think the service on board TAP Portugal is not really great. I find that the majority of stewardess on board the aircraft of TAP Portugal are very unwelcoming, and they talk to you without even making eye contact. And I don't know what it is. I think it's just like the smaller details in service, such as when you get your meal or your drink. I always say thank you very much, but you never get a welcome back, or you never see them smile or anything like that. And I know it doesn't really matter, but I think it's just those smaller things that just, I don't know, it just makes the whole experience not so good. But in the end, in my own opinion, what makes an airline really, really great and stand out from the rest is when there are actually problems or issues, delays, cancellation, etc. That is when the airlines really shine, when they do absolutely everything to solve the problem for you. And this is where TAP Portugal fails miserably. But in the end, we finally made it to our destination here in Oslo, Norway. Guys, thank you very much for joining me on yet another flight report here on Strictly Flying. It was a pleasure as always. And of course, if you like my videos, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. And of course, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel, as that also really helps me out. So with that said, I'm gonna leave you here in rainy Norway, and until next time guys, happy travels, stay safe, all of that stuff, and hopefully I'll see you very soon on the next one. Take care, bye bye.